We the people of the book. I stay humble, I ain't even boasting. I'm just here telling you facts. No more secret, it's gotta be spoken. We out here living a lie. 3/5, but they say that we equal. So put your hands up in the sky. Represent for the chosen people. Melanin, yeah, we got a lot of it. I can see the fear in them when they look at it. I can understand it because it's their nature. They don't care God or concerned about some glaciers. They always want to justify, define themselves not guilty. Pride so fast that they bring in with the people. Shema, people. Shema, 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 people. Shema, 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 people. Shema, people. We the people that they took. I stay humble, I will not be shaken. My people is starting to wake up. Their minds trying to need a shake up. They rewriting history. Whitewashing images forgery. It's all a conspiracy. Crafty counsel from my enemies. They stole our identity. Done away with our heritage. Had us working in the field. See, and we can't get no settlements. So close, they took us too far. Funding people that resemble Cont'd. Perpetually, they really hate us. But we quickly coming out of our haters. Shema, people. Shema, Shema, people. Shema, people. Shema, 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 Shema,
Shouts out to my people. Coming some bonus straight hallelujahs. 400 years, better let it move you. Messiah coming, better let it soothe you. Whoever knew it would be great. On the slave ship, we were stowaways. Never made sense that we were throwaways, but it makes sense we hit fadeaways. Serving the ultimate power. The most high, get them hands high. Serving the ultimate hour. Same people in that manner. We gotta get that bread. In the race line, carry no manners. It's the true now, Lord in my head. Ironic, we grew up in wars. Project Burrows in the ghetto. Between us, there's always a war. Check out Kings and the Chronicles. Brothers overseas, same movie. Escape out of their trying. Worship and praise out of our caves. Dancing is all in our people.
Blessings, blessings, blessings. Shalom. Shabbat, shalom, everyone. Shabbat, shalom. So good to be back another week as Abba Yah, the Most High, has given us another opportunity to celebrate Shabbat starting last night at sunset. What a blessing it is to be alive in the land of the living, to be able to do the will of Abba Yah as he has directed. Yeah, he's directed your path. He's directed my path. He is directing it. We can rebel against it, but your life is not going to be you're not going to live, as they say, your best life if you reject the will of Yah for your life. And so what we believe is that if you walk in the word, if you walk according to the word of the Most High, then you will be walking in his will. And to be honest, family, his will is the safest and best place for all of us. All right. And so we're going to get started. Look, we're not playing games today. We don't play games on any days when we bring the truth of the word of Yah. We're going to continue. Man, can you believe this is part 7? Man, almost 2 months we've been in this sermon series called the Shabbat controversy. I don't know why, but there seems to be a lot of controversy surrounding Shabbat, ranging from, people really misunderstand the whole concept of Shabbat who disagree with it, from my experience, because they keep bringing up one word that has nothing. I don't want to say it has nothing to do with Shabbat, but the one word that they continuously bring up is the word worship. And so we know that Shabbat is more than worship. Shabbat is not only worship, but it is the worship that you can only do on one day of the week. Listen carefully. Shabbat is the kind of worship you can only do one day a week. Well, why would you say that when we can worship any day of the week, Pastor? Notice what I said. Listen carefully, because I'm a wordsmith too. That means I use and I pay attention to words very carefully. Shabbat is the only day that we can worship correctly. So you can worship any other day of the week, but it's not Shabbat. Come on and go with me. You can worship any time of the day, any day of the week. It doesn't matter if you're in your car or in your closet. You can worship. The Greek word proskuneo means to bow down. We did a whole lecture series on worship. You can check our catalog and find out all the different words for worship and what they actually mean. And that is done every single day. But you can only, on Shabbat, you can only worship one day of the week. All right. And so we definitely want to make that clear. Shabbat is not just worship, but Shabbat is setting aside, as Abiyah has said, one day, making one day Kodesh, sanctified to him. He says in the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and 2, or chapter 2, actually, he says this: 6 days you can work, but on the seventh, that's my day. It's mine. It belongs to me. And we can't even give Yah one day. Many of us work on Saturdays. We work on Friday night to Saturday. I understand. But you got to ask yourself, do you really love Yah? You have to really question that. Because you know why? Yeshua said this. He said, if you love me, keep my commands. One way to demonstrate that you really, truly love Yah, I shouldn't say really and truly, because those are just superfluous terms when it comes to love. When you love Yah, you'll do what he says. Simple. It's not rocket science. It's not complicated. And guess what? We do what we want to do. People, that is. As people, we choose to do the things that we want to do. And that's the bottom line. The bottom line is that if you do not honor and keep Shabbat, you just simply don't want to do it. And so we gotta keep in mind that there are people who are stubborn. There are people who are disobedient. There are people who have no desire to surrender their will. They don't. In other words, they don't want to be in. They don't want anyone in charge of their life except them. You see, and that they will run into problems with that, even when they go to, if they want to work. Even if you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business, then you have to answer to the state. Come on and go with me. You have to be in compliance with the state. That means you have to do what they prescribe for you to do in order to keep your business license. So I don't care where you are, Abiyah has established powers that are meant to govern humans. Why? Because we have proven to Yah over and over again that we can't govern ourselves. with the knowledge to do the things that are right. You remember the story, Adam and Eve. Don't eat. Look, you could eat from all these other ones, but don't eat, don't touch this one. We couldn't even manage our own behavior. And so this is not anything new. We've been like this for a long time as people, as humans. And so you will answer to someone. And so today, guys, I'm super excited to get into the 7th part of this series called the Shabbat Controversy. And today we're going to continue with this idea of surrounding the feast days. Now, the feast days are not only the actual feast that we participate in, but also the timing of the feast. And so that's kind of what we're going to deal with today, looking at the moon. The moon determines the feast days. And so we're going to find out today that is it possible that we could be celebrating the feast days on the wrong days? Is that possible? I mean, especially when what we're going to uncover today. I mean, we're already into the 3rd day of the new month or the new moon. But I'm going to show and prove today, y'all, that according to observing the moon, we're not even at the new moon yet. And what is the new moon? What would the new moon look like? How many of you guys know? Put some ones in the chat if you know what the new moon looks like. Put some one in the chat if you know what the new moon looks like. The new moon. Put some ones in the chat if you know what the new moon looks like. I believe that because we've been used to, these calendars that we have, we've gotten away from looking at the moon biblically. Biblically speaking, I'm not talking about being some sort of astronomer. No. I'm talking about as a common person, not a scholar, the common people in Israel, as I'm going to show today, knew how to observe the moon, to know when the new moon was, or the beginning of a new month. Now, some of you may not care about that. Some of you may not care. You're content with looking at the calendar, but this is for your knowledge, for your understanding, for knowing what you believe and why you believe it. If you say you are a believer in the Bible, if you say that you are a believer in Yeshua and Yah, then you should know what we believe and why we believe it. It makes absolutely no sense for you to say that you're a believer and to not know why you believe what you believe. Same thing goes for an unbeliever. Many people don't even know why they don't believe. And then watch this. Their answer is, I just don't believe. Come on, y'all. That's cap all day. What do you mean you don't know why you don't believe? So you don't have a reason why you don't believe? That's cap all day. And so the truth is they don't know why they don't believe. They just refuse to believe. Again, because they don't want anyone in authority over their lives. Simple and plain. Just stop trying to massage it. Stop trying to understand. Well, I don't know why they don't. No, stop all of that. They do not want to believe. There's so much evidence, especially in this technological age, that they can search and find the truth if they want. And if your pastor is not presenting a compelling argument that challenges unbelief, fire him. Fire him. All right. And so today I'm gonna present a compelling argument for understanding why we should not have a Shabbat controversy. All right. And so go ahead and thumb up the video and share the live. Thumb up the video, share the live, y'all. Also, go to all our platforms and thumb up the video. Um, also, we definitely want to put the donation information in the chat. If you could put the donation information in the chat, I want to run it across the screen so that we will be able to donate to the platform, y'all, so we can keep this going. Plus, the information is going to be presented. I believe that it is top notch, it's researched, it's the truth. And so we need to support those who are encouraging and building our lives with the truth. All right. So blessings to you. All right. Here we go. Let's turn to the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 1. And we've been reading this passage for a while, 7 weeks, as a matter of fact. Genesis 1, and we're going to start in verse 14. Guys, forgive me and pardon me for my voice. I've been fighting off this cold. I lost my taste, my sense of taste. I don't taste anything. And but I'm still going with the strength of Abiyah. It's giving me the strength to continue. All right, so in the book of Genesis, we're at chapter 1, and we're on verse 14. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. The word of Yah reads, and God said, let there be lights. We talked about this last week. Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night. We talked about those 3 lights, 3 sources of light. We said it was the sun, the moon, the sun and the moon and the stars. We talked about that last week. Those were the 3 different lights. And let them be signs and seasons and for days and for years. Guys, I'm going to make this one short today. I'm going to make this lesson short today because I do want to rest my voice, y'all. But it's going to be powerful. So go grab your pens, your pads. Go grab something to write with. Listen, I shouldn't have to say this every week. If you're not equipped, if you're just turning on your computer and you just have your phone and it's on, you're not really present. Straight up. You're not present. Being present, okay, means not only that you have your phone or computer on, but it also means you're ready to write, to interact, to participate in this learning. And if you're not present, then really, to be quite honest, you're not really here. You're not. Oh, but my phone's on, Pat. Oh, well, a clock is wrong twice a day. So what does that mean? Does that mean it's working just because it tells the correct time twice a day? All right. And so you and then another thing is this. If someone has to tell you and remind you to go grab a paper, go grab something to write with, every single time you sit down to hear the word of Yah, a true student of the word. A real student of the word will already be prepared. For example, your preparation should match mine. Absolutely. Your preparation should match my preparation. In other words, you should, especially if you were here last week, you should have known, okay, I know he said we were going to go over these scriptures today. Let me read ahead. How many of you read ahead? You read some of the passages that we went over. As a matter of fact, how many went over the lesson from last week to make sure that what I was saying lined up with the word? How many went over it? You re-listened to the broadcast. See, that's real studying. Do you know how many times when I was a young believer that I would listen and re-listen to the Bible study and the sermon for that week? I was a real student of the word. I still am. But especially when I first started out, because I was serious about knowing what I believed and why I believed it. Because I didn't want to be one of these ignorant believers who was not able to answer the objections of other people who didn't believe in the word of Yah. And even today, I'm the same way. This is why I can speak to anyone at any time on any level about the word. And guess what? And sometimes not even use the word as my starting point. Do you know that there are people right now that are losing sleep every day to come against the word? But what are we doing? We sleeping on the word. They're losing sleep to fight against it. But we're so comfortable that we don't feel like we have to study because we sleeping. We care more about sleep and relaxation during this warfare. And by the way, that many of us are losing on an individual front because you know that you can't speak to people who don't believe in the word. You wouldn't know what to say. For example, can I give you an example? How many of you are able to prove that the Exodus happened without using the Bible? Can you prove it? Can you prove that without using the word? Well, why is that important, Pastor? Because there are many people who don't believe in the word. You still got to witness to them. You still have to show them the truth, even though they don't believe in the word. How do you do that? Can you do that? Do you desire to do that? Oh, I know that's a hard question. I know it's a challenging one. I know I'm looking at you dead in the eye and I'm challenging you to ask you, do you prioritize the kingdom? Or do you only prioritize the kingdom when you need something from Yah? Uh-oh. Mm-mm. Oh, no, he didn't. Yes, I did. I went there. I went right there. When we need something from Yah. See, I'm the same no matter. You see, you'll never be able to tell if I need something from Yah or not. Because I've learned to be content in whatsoever state I am in. And at the same time, preach as hard and to preach the truth no matter what. Oh, yes. Even during my double lung transplant, I preached all the way up until the time I had the transplant. And then even after the recovery, I started again. I'm not going to let nobody stop or nothing stop me from doing what Abba Yah has called me to do. So I just felt like I had to drop that. Somebody need to hear that. Verse 15, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So we have three different ones. We have the sun, the greater light, we have the lesser light, and we have the stars. Last week we showed the scripture that explained which one was the greater light, which was the sun, and what was the lesser light, which was the moon. So we know from scripture, we have the sun, the moon, and the stars that actually give light on the earth. Verse 17. And God sent them in the firmament, or set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And not just to give light, but to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw it was good. Verse 19, and evening and morning were the fourth day. All right. And so today, guys, we're going to continue in our series, the Shabbat controversy, looking at the moon determines the feast days, not your calendar. And so again, we talked about last week the importance of marrying, combining historical and biblical analysis. Historical analysis is the process of examining evidence from the past to create a deeper understanding and picture of our life today. By analyzing firsthand accounts, which is called primary sources, historians are able to put together an analysis of the importance of who, what, when, where, and why in history. In other words, I'm not going to let anyone put anything together for me. In other words, I'm not going to let anyone tell me what my history is. Why would you entrust your brain, your heart, your life, and the knowledge of your ancestors in the hands of someone else? That makes absolutely no sense. So guess what? You could be a historical and biblical researcher as well. Yes, you can. Because you don't want to entrust you don't want to put this task in the hands of other people who don't have your best interests at heart. I guess for me, I don't really trust a lot of people. So, I'm not going to trust this, this body of historians who have a history of labeling our people as not having any contribution to the world scene. They would come into our communities, and because things were done differently, and because they didn't have the intelligence to understand it, nor the will to live peaceably, they decided that our ancestors' culture was primitive. They decided we were illiterate because we had oral tradition, because we didn't write things down. They considered that to be illiterate. But although it takes great literacy to have oral tradition, let me say that again. It takes great literacy to have oral tradition. Okay? And so we are historians as well. So, picking up from last week, look at the far right of my screen where you see the sun. See where the sun is? And then you see where the earth is in the middle. And then you see the moon phases all around the earth. So the new moon is when the moon is in between the earth and the sun. That's the new moon. Okay? That means it's the beginning of a new month. And so last week we looked at two different moon phases. We looked at the new moon, and we also looked at the full moon. Okay, so last week we looked at the new and the full moon. All right, and so you can see the full moon over here. And I believe it takes about 14 to 15 days to go from the new to the full. All right. And so this was just a visual to give you an understanding. Now, can someone tell me If the new moon is all dark, did anyone see the moon last night? Or maybe I should ask this. Since we're in the third day of a new month, according to the Gregorian calendar, which was created by Pope Gregory the Eighth of the Roman Catholic Church, according to his calendar, we're already on the third day of the new moon. But is that correct according to the moon phases? In other words, we know what the new moon looks like. And my question to you is, have we had the new moon yet? Or is it coming? So what does that mean then if we have not had it yet? It means that according to the moon phase, which Abiyah established, we're not even in the new month yet. Well, Pastor, with all due respect, we don't live in the Bible. We live in the real world. We live in 2024, and the calendar says we're in a new month. Okay, I hear you. But my question remains the same. Are we in the new month according to the way God keeps time? In other words, whose timetable are you on? Are you on Pope Gregory's? Or are you on the biblical calendar? Well, Pastor, how can I get my life according to the biblical calendar? Well, first of all, you can start with honoring and keeping Shabbat. That's the first thing. Notice I said honoring and keeping. How do you honor Shabbat? Well, number one, you don't work for pay. Scripture says 6 days you work, 7th day you rest from all your work. In other words, you're resting, you're stopping, you're ceasing from working a job that pays you. All right. That's the first thing. All right, let's keep this going. So we see the new moon is when it's the moon is in between the sun and the earth. And so let's look at some key words here. Here's where you would write your notes in. The astronomical new moon. That's a key word. That's a vocabulary word you've never heard of before. All right. And so that's something that you have an opportunity to learn. You can learn what the astronomical new moon is. And I have it right there for you. It's the physical event. It's the actual physical sighting of the moon that shows you the full moon. It's the physical look of the moon. That's the astronaut, not astrological, no, dealing with astrology, but the astronomical, dealing with astronomy, which is the study of the moon, stars, planets, the sun, all right, the solar system, which includes the moon and the stars and the planets as well. All right. That's the astronomical new moon. It's the actual physical event being observed with the eye. The calendric new moon is actually the formal start of the new month. The calendric new moon is the actual start of the new month. So in the astronomical, you have the actual physical look so that when you observe it, you can see it. But the calendric new moon is the formal start of the astronomical. Once you look up and see the astronomical new moon, the physical event, that's when you know you're into the calendric new moon or the calendric new month. It starts on that day. They both mark the beginning of a new month. Okay. How many of you guys had a chance to look at the moon this week with your family or even by yourself? And then talk about it. Things we make time for. There is, guys, biblical evidence. I'm going to show you the biblical evidence for knowing when the new moon starts based on observation. I'm going to show that there's biblical evidence for you to have to know when the new month starts based on observation. See, many of us are not observing anything except these things right here. This is the one thing that you observe every single day, almost 24/7. Okay. And there's a way to find out how long you've been using your phone and when you first picked it up. Oh, man. Oh, yes. It shows you what apps you frequently visit the most. Yep. It even shows your first pickup, the time and the date. Oh, yes. What else does it show? Yep. It shows you the percentage of which categories you use your phone in, which apps you use the most, how many hours or minutes, I should say. It shows you your travel time, your productivity time. It shows you your social time. And so this is, some features on these cell phones are very good for figuring out what am I prioritizing when it comes to my observation, things I'm looking at. So let's go to the first piece of evidence that teaches us that we must know when the new moon starts. So let's go to Numbers 10 and verse 10. So we're going to go to Numbers chapter 10, and then we're going to go to verse 10. Let's start in verse 9. And if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemy. Also, in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginning of your months. Go ahead and write Numbers 10 and 10 down, and you want to write beginnings of your months. Watch this. You shall blow with the trumpet over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices and over your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial or remembrance before your God. I am the Lord your God. Now watch this. How am I going to know when? How are they going to know when to blow the trumpet if they didn't know when the beginning of months were? They had to know when a new month started in order to blow the trumpets over the burnt offerings at the correct time and over the sacrifices. And this showed that the Lord, the Most High, was in your remembrance. See, many of us forget Yah during the week. We forget it. We don't have what I call it a God consciousness during the week. I'm not talking about, oh Lord, please help me. I need to get these bills paid. Abba, Yah, please just bless me with. No. I'm not talking about that. Everybody does that. Even unbelievers do that when they get in a jam. Oh my God. They even call on God and Jesus when they get in a jam. Just because you know his name, the devil knew his name. The devil and the demons knew who he was. Does that mean that the demons were believers? And were they serving too? Of course not. So just because you know the name and you could say it, that doesn't mean that you have God in your consciousness, that he's always forever before you. Look, let me show you this. Matthew 8:28. And when he was come to the other side of the country of Gennesaret, or Gergesenes, there met him two possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by that way. Verse 29. And behold, they cried out. Who cried out? The demons, y'all. The demons cried out, what have we to do with thee? Watch this. They knew who he was. Jesus, the Son of God. Art thou come to torment us before the time? They knew who he was. They knew his name. So just because you know the words Jesus, well, what is that proving? That you're just as good as a devil or demons? Come on, y'all. Come on. We can do better than that. So look at this. He says, in order for them to blow the trumpets at the right time, they had to know when the beginning of the new months began. That's one piece of evidence that shows that you must know according to the moon, because they didn't have calendars back then. They looked up at the moon. Okay. Let's go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel 20:5. Are y'all writing these verses down? 1 Samuel 20:5. Starting verse 4. Then said Jonathan unto David. You guys know who Jonathan and David were? Jonathan and David were best friends. They loved each other as brothers. Okay. Now you can love another man without kissing him. All right. Just wanted to say that. Whatsoever thy soul desireth, I will even do it for thee. You hear that? Jonathan saying this to David. Look, whatever your soul desires, I'll do it. He said, I'll ride with you, David. I'm with you. Where are the brothers like that? That say that? See, we got a lot of brothers and sisters today, y'all, in the community that will say that at the beginning of the relationship. They'll say, I'm with you. I'll help you. It's hard to find a good brother or sister, y'all, to be a friend that'll be what we call a ride or die. My mother used to tell me you may find one like that. A lot of these people that we're calling friends, they're not really friends, y'all. They're associates, they're acquaintances. Okay? You haven't even been taught what a friend is. Not according to the biblical understanding. See, because I know what a friend is biblically, I don't get upset about not getting close to people. It doesn't bother me anymore. It used to bother me, man. I don't have any, You know, all these people that have all these friends, and those aren't friends, y'all. Some of them talk about you behind your back to the other people in the group. They share your business when you tell them not to. It's not a friend. One way to find out if you have a true friend is that you can share your beliefs without them looking at you differently. Let me say that again. One way that you could tell you have a true friend is that you can share your beliefs about whatever you believe and they'll accept you and won't judge you. See, many of us are afraid to tell our friends, so-called friends, what we really believe. All right. So Jonathan and David are examples of that. You can read through the scripts to find out what their relationship was like. Verse 5. And David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon. How did he know that? There was no calendar with dates on it. And I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go that I may hide myself in the field until the third day at even or evening. So look at that. We have two different pieces of evidence showing that we must know the phases of the moon. He said tomorrow is going to be the new moon. And then he says on the third day, he's going to hide himself in the field until the third day. That means he's going to have to see how many new moon. I mean, not new moons, but he's going to be able to count from the new moon 3 days afterwards. How was he able to do that? Sunset. Sunset. All right. You guys see that? You see what's happening? Let's go to 2 Kings 4 and 23. 2 Kings 4 and 23. Y'all write that down? Let's go to starting verse 18. Starting verse 18. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said unto his father, my head, my head. And he said to a lad, carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knee till noon. How do you know it was noon? Because he was able to observe the sun at its highest point and then died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God and shut the door upon him and went out. And she called unto her husband and said, send me, I pray thee, for one young man, for one of the young men and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of God and come again. Okay, so she says, wait a minute. I know who I can go to help my son. I can go to the man of God. Oh, what it would be like if people today had that attitude. And oh, what it would be like if there were men of Yah who were worthy of people running to us, asking for help. But I don't know about these men of God today, y'all. Honestly, I don't. Some of them are homosexual. Some of them are I mean, polygamous. Some of them are false teaching. Some of them are prosperity teachers. You got some of them are hustlers, shady. I mean, it's a shame the state of our spiritual condition by the leaders, supposed leaders. Verse 23. He said, "Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath." And she said, "It shall be well." Look at that. These common people understood and knew when the beginning of months were and knew when the Shabbat was. He said, "It's neither new moon or Sabbath. So what you talking about? What you doing?" She said, "Don't trip. It's going to be all good." Because this man of God, he look, he got office hours. Come on and go with me here. And he's not just there on the Shabbat or the new moon, but he's there consistently. Oh, what a wonderful day it would be if our leaders were consistent, if our pastors were consistent. These dudes hit and miss today. All right, let's go to our final piece of evidence. Remember, in 2 or 3 mouths of witnesses, every matter is established. Amos chapter 8, verse 5. Amos 8, 5. Okay. Amos chapter 8 and verse 5. Again, evidence showing that we must know the new moon or the new month and when it begins. And you don't have to be a preacher or pastor to know that. Let's go to verse 7. Hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, even to make the poor of the land to fail, saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit. Oh my goodness. These guys wanted to know when the new moon was going to be done so that they can get back to their shadiness, doing dirt. Wow. But yet and still, even the criminals, come on and go with me. You better than the criminal, right? Even the criminals knew when the new moon was going to be done with and begin. The criminals, y'all. You got some smart criminals. So you see these passages, guys, are showing and proving that there is evidence in the scripts showing that we must know when the new moon starts based on observation, based on looking at the moon. Okay. Now, how did the common person know how to observe the phases of the moon? How did they figure that information out? Was it something they were born with? Nope. How did they know? Because they were smart? Nope. That's not why and how they knew. How did they know then? Well, because they paid attention to the teachings. Come on and go with me, y'all. They knew things that other people didn't know because they paid attention to the teachings of the scriptures. See, that's the problem with today. Many people don't have a working knowledge of the scriptures because they don't pay attention to the teachings. In other words, I'm not just saying, again, you got your phone, you got your computer, you know Jesus, you know his name. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about studying. Studying to show yourself approved. I know for a fact that the majority of so-called believers are not studying. In my experience, every church I've pastored, I do. So, I'm a teacher by profession, y'all. And so I do informal assessment. And informal assessment is a test without the students knowing you're testing them, because it's informal. It's not set up like your typical test. You don't have a Scantron. You're not writing an essay. An example of an informal assessment could be a conversation. It could be a simple conversation. Watch this. It could be a game that we play. Uh-oh. Look, I'm assessing all the time. I'm assessing people all the time to find out where they are, because I like doing comparative studies. I like comparing the things you like to do the most and how much energy and effort you put into that, and then comparing it with the things that you must do. See, a lot of the times we make the things that we may do the priority, and the things that we must do, we put those on the back burner. Uh-oh, I'm starting trouble already. Oh, well. So this is how they knew how to observe the phases of the moon. Yeah, I remember this. Exodus 24, verse 12. Y'all know this one. You should know this one. Exodus 24, verse 12. And I've been saying this in my lessons, so you guys should already know what it is. And the Lord said unto Moses, come up to me into the mount and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone and a law and the commandments. So we know that the 613 commandments were given on Mount Sinai. That's why it took Moses 40 days and 40 nights. He wasn't up there 40 days and 40 nights getting 10 commandments, y'all. Come on, that don't even make sense. It took 40 days and 40 nights to get 10. No, he got 613. It was an intense study. But then it says, and a law. That word law is ha-Torah, which simply means teachings. So what Moses received on Mount, I need y'all to remember this. What Moses received on Mount Sinai, on Har Sinai, were the 613 commands, but then he also received something else. He received the tables of stone, which had the 10 commandments on them, which are basically chapters or an outline to all the commandments. Then he received a law, which is the word ha-Torah. Do you know what ha-Torah means, y'all? It means the teachings on the commandments, the instruction. So Moses had the commandment, the 613, but then Abiyah took 40 days and 40 nights to give Moses the teachings on the commandments. Then guess what Moses did? He came back, and look at the scripture. Abiyah taught Moses the commandments and gave him the teaching on the commandments so that Moses would go back and teach the people. Not just give them the commandments, because you know how that is, y'all. Even today, if you give people the Bible with the commandments in it, everybody got their own opinion of what it means. No training, lazy as all get out, don't have any tools. And all they're using is they think they could use their own logic and thinking to figure out what the scriptures are saying. Their own reading comprehension skills. Please don't disrespect the work of real teachers and real students who know how to study and do it on a consistent basis and have the tools to study with. You don't even have any tools, yo. But you trying to tell somebody what the word means? You done lost your mind. You done lost your mind completely. What you need to do is fall back, and learn how to become a student. Learn. Watch this. Notice what the scriptures say. I'm not saying this because this is what I think or it's my opinion. Look at the text. Come up to me, Moses. I'm going to give you the tables of stone. I'm going to give you the 613 commandments. I'm going to give you the teaching on the commandments. And guess what, Moses? You and you alone are going to teach the people. Are there smart people in your assembly, Moses? Yes, but they're not teaching. Are there intelligent people in your assembly, Moses? Yes, but they're not teaching. Are there people who possibly knew more than Moses knew? Yes, but guess what? They are not responsible for teaching. Were there women in Moses? Yes, but they were not responsible for teaching. Were there other men? Yes, there were. But guess what? They weren't responsible for teaching. Well, what were they responsible for? Learning, being a student. You see how that works? See, we don't want to be the student. We want to skip that role and jump right to the teacher. Fall back, learn your position, learn how to study. Now watch this. Check this out. The very people who claim to know how to study, watch this, watch me now, who know how to study, they try to tell the pastor what the word means. How come you're not teaching? Then you should be teaching. You should have a regular class every week. But you're trying to teach the pastor. I've had several people, y'all, come to Rehoboth. Well, you're not teaching us right. Seriously? Who are you? What's your experience? Who called you to be the assessor? I even had somebody to say that I was a false teacher, y'all. That I'm a false teacher. And then me being humble enough, instead of cussing them out like I wanted to do, I said, well, wait a minute. Can you show me what I said that was false? And guess what? They couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Watch what Deuteronomy 5:31 says. It says the same thing as Exodus 24, verse 12. But watch what it says here. But as for thee, Moses, stand thou here by me. I will speak unto you all the commandments. So he said, I'm going to speak to you all the 613 and the statutes and the judgments, which you shall teach them. So remember, Exodus 24:12 gives us a little bit more detail because it says that Moses was going to be taught the instructions by Yah. This one just simply says, I'm going to speak unto you all the commandments, which carries with it the idea that not only is he going to give them the 613, but he's going to teach them, he's going to teach Moses all 613. So we have the commandments, then we have the teaching on the commandments. The commandments were written down. Guess what? The teachings were not. The teachings were the oral tradition. For example, this recording is being recorded. I'm speaking, I'm not writing anything down. However, before there was videotape, before there was audio tape, pastors would speak oral tradition, using oral tradition to share the word. And guess what? How many people do you think would have remembered the teachings on the scriptures that the pastor taught? Well, guess what? We read in where do we read at? Hold on. We read in Numbers 10 and 10. You guys wrote these down, right? Y'all, I know y'all wrote them down, but here they are if you didn't. We read in Numbers 10 and 10, 1 Samuel 20 and 5, 2 Kings 44 and 23, and Amos 8 and 5. Guys, we read that the common person knew how to observe the moon. How did they know that? Oral tradition. It was passed down from one generation to the next because Moses taught the people and they were supposed to learn from one generation to the next the teachings on the commandments. Now, do we have any evidence of that? Of course we do. What do you think the main commandment was that Yah taught Moses? I shouldn't say the main, but one of the first. One of the first is found in Exodus chapter 12. So let's go over there. Oh yeah, we use scripture over here. We ain't playing over here. We're not gonna give you 6 ways to make your relationship better. I ain't gonna be talking about how do you overcome your eating problem. Well, we actually do have teachings on fasting. I mean, not fasting, but on diet. But it's not how do you overcome your eating problem. Okay, we dealing with some hard facts when we deal. See, I tell you all the dangers of food or stuff that people call food, because a lot of stuff that we're eating is not even considered. It's not even classified as food. Food shouldn't hurt you. It should benefit you. All right. And so a lot of the stuff that we're eating, it's not helping us. It's not even considered food. Why? Because it doesn't have any nutrients or vital nutritional value. It's not food. It's products. All right. So here we go. And the Lord spake, verse 1, chapter 12 of the book of Exodus. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month, as a matter of fact, this is, according to the scripture, the 4th commandment, not of the 10 commandments, but of the 613. So if you had 613 commandments, this is the very 4th one. All right. He said, this month shall be unto thee the beginning of months. It shall be the 1st month of the year to you. It's the new year. It's the new month. And guess what, y'all? It wasn't January. Oh, and I can tell you what month it is. It's not even the name of the month. It's the month called Aviv or Aviv, not because that's the name of the month, but because it is the timing of the harvest. Do I got to show y'all this again? Got to show you this again. Okay. All right. I will show again. And definitely, here, let me show you again. So again, the beginning of the months the name of it was Aviv. Okay. And Aviv is not the name of the month, y'all. Please remember that. Aviv is not the name of the month. Okay. Now, the first place we read about Aviv, and I'm going to take you there because it's very important that you get this concept down of what Aviv is. Okay. So let me show you. If you go to Exodus 9 and 31, Aviv, please write this down. See, this is when I mention that, Aviv, and the way you spell Aviv, you could either spell it A-V-I-V or A-B-I-B. In the Hebrew, the bet, so you have the aleph, and then you have the second letter of the alphabet, the bet or vet, depending on if there's a dagish inside of the letter, it makes the B sound. So you would say Abib. If it didn't have the dagish inside, it would make the V sound. Okay, Aviv. So let's look at Exodus 9 and 31, which is describing what Aviv or Abib means. Again, it's not the name of the month. And the flax and the barley was smitten, and the barley was in the ear. This phrase, in the ear, Ba'aviv or Ha'aviv, which means that the barley was ripe, it was green, it was ready to be harvested. So you have the moon that showed us when the new moon was, but then you had the crops to show us when the new year began. So that's the first place it tells you what Aviv means. It's when the barley is in the ear. All right. Let's go to the next verse. Exodus 13 and 4. Now I'm walking you through this. I know this stuff. This is not for me. This is for you. Because I know this. So Exodus 13 and 4. It says, the day you came out of Egypt, he's talking about, let's go to verse 3, just so you get continuity. And Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which you came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand the Lord brought you out of this place. There shall be no leavened bread eaten. This day came you out in the month of Aviv. All right. And so again, what they're referring to here is not the name of the first month, but it is describing the crops. Now, the word Aviv, let me give you what the word actually means. Okay, which is important. So the word Aviv, the word Aviv is used 6 times. In the ear is used once. Green ears of corn is used once. It means fresh, young barley ears. Month of ear forming. Notice it's not the name of the month. It's the month in which ear forming on the crops begin to happen. Of greening of crops, of growing green. The crops are growing green, meaning they're ready to be harvested. And if you match it up according to the Gregorian calendar, it's somewhere around March or April. So we're coming up on the month of Aviv in a few weeks. All right. So I wanted to show you that. And let's go to the next passage, because I really want to walk you through what Aviv actually means. And I think I'm going to give you, let's see. Okay, yeah, let's go back to Deuteronomy 16 and 1, because this is very interesting. Deuteronomy 16 and verse 1. He says, observe the month of Aviv and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Aviv, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. So this is very interesting because it tells you that the anniversary of the Exodus happened in the first month of the new year. Oh my goodness. Isn't it good to start off the new year on the right foot? Isn't it good to start off the new year walking with Yah? You know, a lot of people start off the new year trying to make New Year's resolutions. They don't work. Look, you need to start off with Yah, keeping the feast. That's how you make an impact in your life. So that's Exodus 12 and 2. Exodus 12 and 2. Watch this. Says that okay. The month of Aviv is going to be the first month, the beginning of months. It shall be the first month to you. They're referring to the month of Aviv. Okay. And so that's very interesting for that to be the first month. But I do want to share this on Exodus 12 and 2. Because remember, we were talking about why is it that this is a command? Okay. And so why is Exodus chapter 12, verse 2 so important that it was the fourth command? Well, let me read something to you. Sanctifying the months and declaring the feast days or holy days will occur in their proper seasons. The only way they can occur in their proper seasons is that you establish the first month and the beginning of that month. Okay. If you don't make up, hold on, not that one. Let's see. The key concept. This commandment, which is this month will be the first month. Okay. This commandment is to ensure that the nation of Israel will celebrate its holy days in their proper times. All right. That's on page 9, according to the Sefer HaChinok. Okay. This book contains an easy to follow, an ideal way for anyone to become familiar with the 613 commandments because they are aligned with the parashah, which every week we go over. Okay. And so watch this, y'all. Let's go to Exodus Rabbah in the Midrash. Again, this is our oral tradition. So we're going to go to Midrash. And we're going to go to Exodus or Shemot. Midrash Avot. Rabbah. So that's Bereshit, Bad Midbar, Shemot. Okay. And I believe it was 15. Yep, 15, 1, 4, 5, and 9. So 15. Here, let me show you what I did. So I went to the Midrash. I went to Midrash Rabbah. And I went to Shemot, which is the Midrash on the book of Exodus. 15. And we're going to look at 1. Okay. Watch this. The Lord spake unto Moses, this month shall be for you the first of months. That is the voice of my beloved. Behold, he is coming. As he is stated, my beloved spoke and said to me, what are you doing here in this place of the impure, whose flesh is the flesh of donkeys, whose issue is like the issues of horses. Rise up, my love, my fair one, and go. And he, Moses, said to him, Master of the universe, you said that we would be enslaved for 400 years, but they have not yet been completed. He said unto him, they have already been completed, as it is stated, for behold, the winter has passed. Immediately the righteous uncovered their heads, which had been covered, and it is stated, the blossoms have appeared. Look at this, guys. The blossoms have appeared. So there's two clear things that are telling you when the new year, or Exodus 12 is, or Aviv. The winter is past, okay? And the blossoms have appeared. Now, when is the time that blossoms appear? Do they appear in January? No, you're in dead of winter. The blossoms appear in February? No, they appear around March, April. So they're giving you a clue about when the beginning of the new year starts. Let's go to 4. Actually, let's see. I want to take you directly, for the sake of time. I'll take you directly to, is this 5? Let's see. I want to take you right to where Moses was shown. Okay, so 9 and 12. Let's see. So I'm going to go to 9, because I don't want to take up a lot of time. I did say this was going to be short. All right. All right, let me go back here. Okay, so another interpretation, this month shall be for you the first of months. It is analogous to a king to whom a son was born, and he made a celebration. The son was taken captive and was there in captivity for a long time. After the time, the son was redeemed, and the king made a birthday celebration for him. So unto Israel descended to Egypt, they would count toward the enslavement. Once they went down and were enslaved there, and the Holy One, blessed be he, performed miracles on their behalf, and they were redeemed. They began counting the months. As it is stated, this month will be for you the first of months. So they're recounting what happened in the book of Exodus. All right. And so now we're going to go to 12. And I'm trying to get to hold on, because it may be. All right. Another interpretation, this month shall be for you. Rabbi Meyer says the redemption is for me and for you. As it were, I was redeemed with you, as it is stated, whom you redeemed from Egypt, the nation, and its God. Establish this month for me and you, and I will see the blood of the Paschal offering, and it will atone for you. As it is stated, speak to the entire congregation of Israel. They shall take for them each man a lamb for each household. That's in Exodus 12 and 3. And your rejoicing will be complete, even for one who is poor. Watch this: an unblemished lamb, a male of the first year, from the sheep or from the goats, you shall take. You shall hold it in safekeeping unto the 14th day of the month, and the entire assembly of the congregation of Israel shall slaughter it in the afternoon. Okay, so they're talking about the Passover that's happening during this month of Aviv. And the reason why they knew when to do it is because of establishing when the beginning of months began. All right. And so let me go to Exodus 13 and 3. Okay. So again, Moses gave the teachings on Exodus 12 and 2, which says this is the beginning of new months. Then Moses came back around, and Moses said unto the people in verse 3, remember this day in which you came out from Egypt of the house of bondage, for by the strength of the hand of the Lord brought you out from this place. There should be no leavened bread eaten. Now watch this. Verse 4, this day came ye out in the month of Eve, in the greening of the barley harvest. Now watch this. What's happening here is Moses is reminding the people. He's saying, don't forget, this is the time of the new year. Number one, we came out and it was in the month of Aviv. So I want you to look at the harvest, and every year you see the harvesting of the barley turning green, ready for harvest. That is the new year. And not only is it the new year, but also remember, more importantly, this is the time that Abba Yah brought you out of bondage. So you ask, how did they know? Well, they passed this tradition down orally, year after year, generation after generation, looking at the moon, looking at the barley harvest. And that's how they remembered. Okay. And so Yah showed Moses the details of how to look at the moon, the structure of the moon. That's what he was up there 40 days and 40 nights for, because Abba Yah was giving him the commandments and the teachings on the commandments, especially Exodus 12 and 2, which was one of the mitzvot. It was a fourth one out of 613. He taught Moses how to look for the new and the full moon through observation. Okay. So the new moon phase occurs when the moon is directly between the earth and the sun. I showed you guys that. So that the side facing the earth is not illuminated, it's dark. And this, at this point, the moon is in conjunction with the sun. Okay, and here it is. Here it is. It's right here. Okay, so this is the new moon. See how it's dark on this side of the earth that we can see it? It's dark. Here's the sun shining on this part of it. But then on the earth side, it's dark. And that's why we call that the new moon. And as a matter of fact, Psalm 81 and 3, it says, blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the full moon, on our solemn feast days. So you're supposed to blow it every month on the new moon and the full moon, and on the feast days, the beginning of the feast days. Do you guys see that? And so this is what, over here in this far right column, this is what you would see from the earth. And this is what Moses saw from the earth. This is what Yah taught Moses to look at. When the moon is all dark, okay, Abba Yah taught him that. This is a sign when the months began. And guess what? Still happens like that. Okay. Full moon phase. The full moon occurs when the moon is on the opposite side of the earth from the sun. All right. So let's check that one out. Oh, wait, did we see that already? Oh, right here. Okay. So now we can see this is the full moon when it's lit on the side of the earth and dark so that we can't see it. So this is what it looks like over here in the far right corner. It looks lit up. Okay. Now, let me say this. There are no biblical passages, y'all, that directly state that the full moon is opposite the sun. However, what is stated is that we are supposed to learn the teachings on the commandments. That is definitely stated. And the tradition of the commandments. That's definitely stated. And the oral tradition. Now watch this. It says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep the commandments. For this is the duty of man. The whole duty of mankind. Every human being, come on and go with me, should know how to keep time according to God's timepiece. Because if we were to keep the commandments, then we know that not only do we have the commandment, but we have the teachings on the commandments. And the teaching on this month shall be the first month to you should have been passed down to every person, every tribe on the face of the earth. Okay. And so we see that this is the whole duty of mankind. This word man is ha-adam, which simply means mankind. Okay. So no, we don't have the Bible doesn't directly state that the full moon is opposite or that the new moon is opposite the earth. No, it doesn't say that. But we have the commandments and we have the oral tradition through the teachings that Moses passed down from generation to generation, teaching us how and when to observe the full and the new moon. Okay. So we're going to stop right here and we're going to pick up next week with the synodic month, right? And it's the time from one new moon to the next full moon. It's an average of 14 days. So what I would really want you to do is look up when the new moon is going to occur. You know what? I could do that right now. New moon, February. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to show you right now. Look at this. This is easy, guys. Look at this. Yep. Somebody put February 9th. So do you see, according to the moon, the new moon or the new month begins 9 days after the Gregorian calendar says that it's the new month. So this is showing you that Pope Gregory and the Roman Catholic Church decided to move away from the biblical way of keeping time and to establish their own way of keeping time. Now, I do have to remind you, in the book of Daniel, family, you guys know what the book of Daniel says in Daniel 7. About the Roman Empire. How do I know it's about the Roman Empire? Well, Daniel 7:23 says, thus he said, the fourth beast. Now we know the fourth beast is referring to nations. shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth. Now let's go through the kingdoms. Remember, the first kingdom was the Babylonian. Well, we had the Egyptian kingdom that ruled Israel, but in prophecy, it starts with the Babylonian kingdom. That was the first nation or first beast. The Medo-Persian kingdom was the second. The Greek kingdom was the third. And guess what the fourth one is, I should say? The Roman. Okay, that was during Yeshua's time. The Romans were in charge. The Romans were the oppressors. The Romans were in charge of the Holy Land. All right. Verse 24. It says, well, let me go back to 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it into pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall, watch this, shall rise after them. And he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. Verse 25. Here we go. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. And watch this. And think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of times. Now watch this. What time did he change? Well, he changed the keeping of time, which was the calendars. That's why the new moon, according to the phases of the moon, doesn't start until the 9th of February. Okay, because we're using the Gregorian calendar, which tells you that the new month started 3 days ago. You see how that works? So we're going to pick up next week dealing with the synodic calendar, which deals with the time from one new moon to the next full moon, which is an average of 14 days, 18 hours and 37 minutes and 52 seconds. This is known as the so-called synodic month. Okay. According to the lunar calendar or the observance of the moon. And if we had barley crops, we could also look at the barley crops. Okay. All right, let's see. Hey, Brittany. What's up? What's up? Shalom, shalom to you. Yeshua forever. Absolutely. Absolutely, sister. Blessings. Blessings. We definitely glad to see you here once again, and look forward to today. We started a little bit late, about 11:30, but usually we start at 10 a.m. on Shabbat, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays we start at 7:30 p.m. And so we definitely would love to have you join us, and look forward to your contribution. All right, blessings. Are there any questions at this time? I'll open up for questions or comments that anyone would like to make. Blessings.
Shalom, Pastor.
Shalom, shalom, sister. Blessings. All right, thank you for that greeting, Queen. I appreciate it. No questions, no comments, no. We're going to be in part 8. Oh my goodness, part 8, man. No questions, no comments. And look, you can question. Look, if you feel like I've said something that was off, incorrect, we welcome that. We want to hear that because I want the truth. I want to get better. Blessing, Sister Winston, Sister Elizabeth. What is the new moon called?
The new month.
Yes, it is the new month. It's the beginning of months. And also it's the begin.
The
So,
question was, what is the new month called?
oh, what is the new month called? Sorry. You mean the name of the month? So, according to biblical understanding, they didn't name the months, they were numbered. That's why in, I believe it was Exodus 12:2, I believe. Yep. They didn't name the months. See, you had people that came after and put names. We numbered, just like the days and the months. Biblically, Yah numbered the months and the days, but people came after and they put names to the months. Okay, so if you look in Exodus 12:2, it says, "This is the beginning of months. It shall be the first month." Okay, and so according to scripture, the months were numbered. It wasn't until later on after captivity, and I think it's in my presentation that I'm going to deal with that actually. Let me see. Oh, yes, right here. Let me show you guys. You look right here. This is going to be in the next presentation. The month is referenced as Aviv, which is a Canaanite Hebrew linguistic term meaning ripening, heads of grain, or fresh ears indicating the springtime. And so we look at Nehemiah after captivity. So it went from being named Aviv in Babylon to Nisan in Medo-Persia. Okay, so once the new ruler took over Babylon, they renamed it to Aviv, and then when the Medo-Persians, they named it Nisan. Okay, when the Greeks came in, that was the beginning of naming the months what they are called today. January. The Greek and the Roman Empire are responsible for the names that we have today.
I have a question. Can you look up what does moon mean? Is it Chodesh?
The word moon?
Mm-hmm. In blue
Oh,
letter?
okay, I sure can.
And is Chodesh the same word in Hebrew as month? Because that would kind of speak to the question, what is the new month called? Is it Rosh Chodesh?
Okay. That's a good point. So let me go back. Instead of going here, I'm going to go back to the book of Genesis where it was first mentioned. Genesis 1. I believe it's 14. No. Let's see. I'm just going to go to
The first place where it says new moon, or the new moon.
oh, you want to see the first place where it says new moon in the Bible? Okay, not just moon. Okay. Let's see. So give me 1 second.
Numbers 10:10 maybe?
Is that the first place where it said new moon?
The notes say Numbers 10:10, beginning of your month shall be. So Numbers 10:10, that's what I wrote down. That's when you blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings. So I think that's the place where we want to look for the month or moon to see if it's the same word.
Okay. So I do have a reference here. So Genesis 7:11, it doesn't say new moon, but it says moon. So let's walk down the street here and see. Notice, I want y'all to notice something. As I referred to earlier, there were no names of the months, but if you look in Genesis 7:11, it says the second month. They numbered them. Second, and then Genesis 8:4, the seventh month. You see how they're then Genesis 8:5, the 10th month. Okay.
So can we see what is the word in Hebrew for month?
Yes, it's right here. It's Kodesh, like you're saying.
So to answer
It's
Sister Winston's questions, it would be the new moon or new month is called whatever the word for Hebrew and new is in Chodesh, right?
okay. Let me go to that passage then. You said what was it? Numbers 10?
10, yes.
10 and 10, yeah?
Yes.
So the beginnings is Rosh.
You should change the screen.
Sorry. So the beginnings and the beginning of your month. So beginnings is the word Uv, Rosh. Okay. And then months is Chad, Shachem. Okay. Or Chodesh. Okay. So you have the beginning Rosh Chodesh. That's the beginning of months or the head of months. The word Rosh is head. So you would have Rosh Chodesh. That would be new month or beginning of months. Rosh Chodesh. Yep.
So each month is numbered like you showed already, but the new
Yes.
month means it's the beginning of the month, which is Rosh Chodesh. Is
Rosh
that
Chodesh.
answer the question, Sister Winston?
That's a good question. So when the moon is complete, hidden, and the barley crops rose, we are. Yep.
Specifically for the barley crops, that will be the beginning of the new year because there's more than 1 month in a year, though. So,
Right.
so that's the beginning of the year. That's like a new year, but each new month is still called Rosh Chodesh.
Correct. The barley crops, like you're saying, the barley crops lets us know it's the beginning of the new year, not January. Because remember, there's nothing ripening in January. Everything is, it's not, there's no ripening. There's no, especially when we talk about barley. You look right now, you could probably look up and say, when is barley ripen? What month? And it won't tell you January, but it will definitely tell you somewhere March and April.
When you say what day is that, which day are you referring to specifically? Because it'll change every year.
You mean what day of the week? What day is the new year? So we would have to see. Well, this year, as we showed, It's coming up. The new year for this year is coming up. Hold on, let me see.
You
'Cause
have to be careful with that, because if you just Google it, you're gonna get Rosh Hashanah, which is Jewish, and that comes up in September. But Passover, going back to scripture, when
Right.
the Exodus happened out of in Exodus, when we got out of Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
and we had to hurry up and eat and sacrifice a lamb, and Passover and unleavened bread happened.
Yeah.
That's our biblical New Year time.
Right. It's before that. It's before
Right.
that. So if
It's
you look
14 days before that, before Passover.
now, how do you know it's 14 days, Sister Benz?
Now listen, I don't have all this memorized now.
Well, we know it's 14
You have
days.
to get the lamb and hold it for 14 days before Passover. So
Okay, let's go to Exodus. Let's go to Exodus. We're going to show you how we know it's 14 days before Passover. So we know what Passover, we know what day Passover is. So let's go to Exodus. I believe it's chapter 12. Okay. So we're going to go to Exodus 12. Now watch this. Excuse me. All right. So Exodus 12 and verse 1. It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year. Now watch this. Speaking to the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of the month, thou shalt take to them every man a lamb. So that's 10 days. But then it continues down here in verse 6. And you shall keep it until the 14th day, like Sister Benz just said, and you shall kill it in the evening. So now what we do is we go to when Passover is, because you kill it in the evening.
and you count back 14 days, right?
And then you count back 14 days, and that will be the beginning of the new year. So once we find out when Passover is, which we're going to be sending out real soon, probably at the end of February, once we find out the day of Passover, we count 14 days from that. Before that,
Well, technically, if we were say we didn't have the calendar that told us when Passover was, we would
right,
have to be watching the moon and the barley.
we would have to watch the moon. Yep.
That's pretty much how you would figure it out. Although we not cropping barley, so that's the difficult piece.
Right.
So we could watch the moon every month and know based on our Gregorian calendar, like the new year happened in January, and watch winter as it progresses, because sometimes Passover is in March and sometimes it's in April. Like it's a huge difference. I don't know if it's the leap year that it has to do with every 4 years or so, but every now and again it lands in March instead of April.
I think last year was in March.
It's like at the end of April this year, April 22nd. So 14 days before that should be the new year.
Oh, yes. And we're going to have more dedicated teachings on that. This teaching wasn't really specifically dedicated to it, but as we continue and get closer to the new year, we'll have more specific dedicated teachings in Bible study where we can interact and ask questions. And yep. So, oh, yes. Excellent questions. Excellent. You're welcome. You're welcome, guys. Well, if there aren't any more questions, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to you and your family too. And we look forward to being in the building again, y'all. Man, I miss y'all. Miss seeing y'all. Miss seeing everybody. So we look forward to being in the building again, y'all. But until then, blessings and shalom. Blessings, Christ forever. Sister Brittany, neighbor from the haystack. Bless you, sister. Join us again. Once again, usually we're on Shabbat at 10 a.m. and on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. So we look forward to you joining in with us. All right, y'all. Family blessings and peace to you and your family too. Blessings, y'all.
Blessings.